For anyone watching this feeling bad about maybe being single or unmarried, don't be. Because honestly, in my opinion, being on your own is probably a hell of a lot better than being married to these. First on our list today, we have British singer Bacardi, who married and subsequently divorced Eduardo, a devilishly handsome Victorian-era soldier who was, well, dead. Bacardi claims that she met the ghost of a man after he burst into her bedroom one night during a thunderstorm. The two fell in love and were married on Halloween of 2022. However, unfortunately for the singer, it didn't take her long to realize that marital problems are not solely reserved for the living. Apparently, soon after the pair had exchanged nuptials, Edward's demeanor began to change. He became possessive of Bacardi and would often taunt her with the sounds of young screams. A bit more bizarre, the singer claimed that her dearly departed would never help around the house and often mocked the movie The Conjuring. But perhaps the moment it all came crumbling down is when Edward was accused of cheating on Bacardi with the ghost of Marilyn Monroe. The couple eventually returned to the very church in which they had first said I do, but this time for a very different reason. Bacardi wanted a divorce in the form of an exorcism. After the ceremony was performed and the ghost of Edward expelled, the singer maintained that she now feels much more joyful than ever before and is using her newfound independence to work on herself and her music. Neat. For some reason, I am starting to think these spectrophilic relationships just aren't a good idea, because next up we have Irish native Amanda Large, who married and divorced a pirate. Ghost. Amanda, a 45-year-old female Captain Jack Sparrow impersonator, married 300-year-old deceased ex-husband Captain Jack Teague in early 2018. Amanda says when she first met Teague in 2014, she was laying in bed and one night all of a sudden felt his energy beside her. Leading up to the marriage, Amanda reported that the two were quite content and, just like any living couple, regularly participated in date nights, lovers' quarrels, and even intimate relations. When the nuptials took place, they were performed by a spiritual medium in international waters so that their commitment to one another would be considered legally binding. This was Amanda's second marriage, as she was previously married to a living man and even gave birth to 6 children during that time as well. As for Teague's dating history, it seems his past had been just as rocky, being left at the altar hundreds of years before his second attempt at love everlasting. Well, it appears Teague just can't catch a break, as after less than just 1 year into the marriage, Amanda decided to call it quits, leaving her ghostly lover for one with a little more, well, life. Amanda reported that she was very excited to enter into her first double live relationship in 12 years after leaving her first husband, and says that she has separated herself now from the ghoulish lover, as well as the dark mediums, ghosts, and occult groups that got her into the whole thing in the first place. Next on our list today, we have the story of Bessie Brown, a young woman born to a wealthy and highly respected Oklahoma family who married the ghost of her greatest love. Bessie had been previously engaged to living John Allen, and even before their nuptials took place, the pair had promised to be with and be faithful to one another as long as either one should live in this life and the next. Unfortunately, tragedy struck before the two had a chance to make it to the altar, as John was involved in a railroad accident that resulted in his death. Bessie was destroyed, but shortly after, she admitted that she had been seeing John's spirit, and she was overjoyed. So she decided to keep her promise to John, making the decision to marry his ghost. Her parents, concerned for her well-being, had Bessie examined, but specialists found no reason to believe that she'd gone insane. In fact, many members of the community where she lived actually believed what Bessie was seeing, and although they were somewhat skeptical, they supported her marriage to the deceased because of her sincerity and strong Christian character. Okay, we're gonna venture away from spectrophilics for a moment and move on to digisexuals, people who are attracted to robots and artificial intelligence models rather than humans with biological bodies and minds. In February of this year, it was revealed that Spanish artist Elisa Fremes plans to be the first person to marry an AI-powered hologram in an effort to explore the boundaries of human-AI interaction, as well as its impact on society. While there is no legal union set to take place between Alicia and the AI hologram Alex, it is the artist's hope that her performative union will be attended by the public. While Alicia regularly shares photos to Instagram of her and her hologrammed husband-to-be, it's been speculated that the images are photoshopped, and that her projected companion is actually another artist or actor. While we are unsure of the details, Alicia has said in posts that hers is a romantic relationship between a woman and artificial intelligence. Next on the list, we have another story of tragic love and eternal commitment. After getting engaged, a Hindu woman's fiancé perished after falling down a well in the community. Struck with grief, the bride decided that she would go through with the wedding anyways and commit herself in body, mind, and spirit to the man she loved, regardless of his passing. To ensure the wedding would go forth, she refused to release her husband's remains for cremation until after the ceremony took place, in which she would marry his corpse. On the day of the wedding, the bride wore classic Hindu bridal attire for the pair's ceremony, and afterwards changed into an outfit more suitable to grief for the remainder of the day. Even though the wedding was highly unconventional, the bride still received gifts of clothes and utensils, as is common at weddings in Hindu tradition. This next story was posted to Reddit's r/no-sleep thread and tells of a college student who agreed to an arranged marriage with a deceased bride. After being offered a large sum of money that would cover his tuition and then some, Jin agreed to be married to a deceased woman in a Chinese wedding ceremony so that she would not carry the burden of being unwed into the afterlife. In a traditional ceremony, he married a bamboo effigy of his bride, dressed in a traditional red wedding gown. After the ceremony ended, Jin returned to his life, but it wasn't long before strange things started happening. Objects started disappearing and showing up in weird places, and Jin often experienced chills and the feeling of being watched in the night. Eventually, his ghost bride appeared to him, with pale skin stretched across her frail bones and a soulless anger towards the young man. Jin said that he did everything he could think of to appease the woman's spirit, and eventually the hauntings did stop. That was until he fell in love with another woman named Mia. Once again, the young man's ghost bride began to appear, demanding fidelity from Jin. Eventually, Jin confided to Mia about the marriage and the problems he'd faced ever since, and the two decided to run away together. Jin's story ends on the road. While driving away with Mia, he received a phone call from the police that a body was discovered in Mia's apartment. But all of a sudden, the woman he was looking at appeared pale, with skin that seemed to be stretching across brittle bones. I have goosebumps. Alright, moving on to a man named Cheng who married a Barbie doll that he believed to contain his late wife's spirit. When Cheng first married his wife Tsai in 1979, his family did not approve, and as a result, Tsai eventually took her own life in shame. Cheng did eventually remarry, but was never able to shake the feeling that his late wife's spirit was not at peace. And so in 1999, he decided to marry a Barbie doll, hoping it would allow Tsai's spirit to finally rest. The ceremony took place in a Buddhist temple. The Barbie was dressed in a traditional wedding gown, and this time around, Cheng's family blessed the marriage and asked Tsai's spirit to forgive them for their initial disapproval of the union. During the ceremony, Cheng burned a paper model of the red Mercedes given to him as a dowry during his first marriage so that Tsai may use the vehicle in the spirit world. After Cheng and Tsai tied the knot for the second time, Cheng returned home to his second wife, along with the Barbie doll and Tsai's ashes. According to Chinese tradition, which recognizes the union of spirits and the living, Tsai will now forever be considered a member of the Cheng family. Next on our list today, and starting off our top 3, we have a woman named Amethyst Realm. Yes, Amethyst Realm, who claims to have fallen in love with an ancient and very wise ghost. While we never caught the name, Amethyst claims to have met her lover while away on business after ending things with a previous fling who was also a ghost. In fact, Amethyst admitted to having 20 paranormal lovers throughout her lifetime. She met her current love during the summer of 2018 while walking through nature, and after a whirlwind romance, Amethyst boarded a plane back to England, saddened at the idea that she may never again feel the presence of her new love. But to her surprise, she could still feel him after getting on the plane. About halfway through the flight, the pair were apparently feeling pretty hot and heavy and decided to slip off to the bathroom, where Amethyst claims they both became members of the Mile High Club. Later that year, the two became engaged when Amethyst for the first time heard her lover speak out loud, asking if she would be his bride while on a trip to the Wookey Hole Caves in England. It seems Amethyst's days of serial spiritual dating are over, as she now claims to be a one-ghoul gal. Alright, for these last two, we are going to move away from ghosts and just get downright weird. Although I suppose no more weird than joining the ghost version of the Mile High Club, but still. This is the story of Neen and Cell 9000. Can you guess which one is a real person and which is a character from a video game? I'm gonna go ahead and assume you said Neen was the real person, in which case you'd be wrong. Sal9000 is the username of a man who in 2009 married Neen, a Japanese video game avatar from Love Plus, which is a dating simulation game played on the Nintendo DS. After just 3 months of dating, Sal decided to take the next step and ask Neen to be his wife, but they didn't get married in the game. Nope, in a real-life ceremony, Sal married Neen and vowed to love her until death parted the pair. The wedding was attended by friends and live-streamed online. When asked about the marriage, Sal simply stated that the female avatar was his ideal woman, far better than any human girlfriend he would ever find, not easy to anger but certainly quick to forgive. And I'm sure the two lived happily ever after, until his DS died that is, but hey, you win some, you lose some, right? And finally, to finish off our list today, we have the story of Jody Rose, who entered into possibly one of the most stable marriages known to date. And by that I mean, in 2013, Jody ceremoniously married Le Pont du Diable, aka Devil's Bridge, a staple of southern France that dates all the way back to 1321. Mrs. Diable said she met the bridge while traveling the world working on a project called Singing Bridges, which involved recording the vibrations on various bridge cables so that the sounds may be used to create music. Jody says that what drew her to this particular bridge was that it made her feel connected to the earth, describing the structure as fixed and stable and appreciating her betrothed's ability to always provide her with a safe place to rest while never trying to stop her from heading back out on the road. Alright you guys, that was a wild ride. I really don't have anything else to say about it honestly, but I do hope you enjoyed today's video. As always, I have been your host Hannah Thompson, and I will see you in the next video.